Salutare tuturor! Sunteți curioși să aflăm ce i s-a mai întâmplat lui Alice de asta dată? Să citim în engleză. Să aflăm. Chapter 4. The rabbit sends in Little Bill. It was the white rabbit trotting slowly back again and looking anxious, as if it had lost something. The Duchess, oh my paws, oh my fur, she'll get me executed. Where could I have dropped those? Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the white gloves, so she started to look for them. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice and called out to her angrily, "Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and the fan. Quick, now!" Alice was so frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he will be when he finds out who I am, but I'd better take him the fan and the gloves first." As she said this, she came upon the house, on the door of which was a bright plate with the name W. Rabbit engraved on it. She went in and without knocking hurried upstairs. She ended up in a little room with a table, and on the table she saw the fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white gloves. She snatched them and was just about to leave the room when her eyes fell upon a little bottle. There was no label this time on the bottle with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she put her to her lips. "I know something interesting is about to happen," she said to herself, "as this is what happens when I drink or eat something. So I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it will make me grow large again, for really I'm quite tired of being such a tiny little thing." It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drank half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stop to save her neck from being broken. She went on growing and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. She even had to put an arm out of the window and 1 foot up the chimney to fit. It was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of that room again, no wonder Alice felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when I was not growing larger and smaller all the time, and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole. And yet it's rather curious, you know, this sort of life. After a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. "Marianne, Marianne," said the voice, "fetch me my gloves this moment." Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look after her. Presently the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but Alice's elbow was pressed hard against it, and that attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, "Then I'll go round and get through the window." "That you won't," thought Alice, and she suddenly spread out her hand through the window and made a snatch in the air. Next came a very angry voice, the rabbit's. "Pat, Pat, where are you?" "I'm here, digging for apples, Your Honor." "Digging for apples, indeed. Here, come and help me out of this. Now tell me, Pat, what's that in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, Your Honor." "An arm? You goose! Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, Your Honor, but it's an arm nonetheless." "Well, it's got no business there. Go and take it away." Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, Your Honor." "Do as I tell you, coward," said the rabbit. At last came a rumbling, many voices all talking together at the same time. "Where's the other ladder?" Bill got the other ladder. "Here, Bill, the master says you've got to go down the chimney." And down the chimney Bill went, only to be shot back again up. A little squeaky voice was heard. "What happened, old fellow? Tell us what happened to you." "Well, I hardly know. All I know is that something comes at me like a jack-in-the-box, and up I go like a skyrocket back the chimney." "So you did, old fellow," all the others said in a chorus. "We must burn the house down," said the rabbit's voice. And Alice called out as loud as she could, "If you do that, I'll set dinner at you." There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they would take the roof off." After a minute or two, a shower of little rocks came in through the window, and some of that hit her face, Alice's face. "I'll put a stop to this," she said to herself, and shouted out, "You'd better not do that again," which produced another dead silence. Alice noticed, however, with surprise, that the little rocks were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor. And a bright idea came to her head. "If I eat one of these cakes," she thought, "it's sure to make some changes in my size. And as it can't possibly make me any larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose." So she swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find out that she began shrinking again. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house. "The first thing I've got to do," said Alice to herself, "is to grow to my right size again. And the second thing is to find my way into the lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan." So lost was she in her thoughts that she nearly forgotten that she had to grow up again. "Let me see, how can I do that? I suppose I ought to drink or to eat something. But the great question is, what?" Indeed, that was the great question. There was a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself, and it occurred to Alice to look what was on top of it. She stretched herself up on the tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom, and her eyes immediately met one of those large blue caterpillars that was sitting on top with its arms folded, quietly smoking a long hookah.